starting in the 2021 season. Christopher, I will kick it off, and while we let everybody queue up for questions, obviously I know you had a great run this last weekend. Looking forward to finishing out the season strong with Levine Family Racing. But what are your feelings, kind of knowing what your plans are for next year?
Yeah, just a lot less stress. It's really rewarding to be able to know that I've got a job for next year. Obviously, things are kind of up in the air there for a minute with the whole Levine situation, but I'm very grateful that I get to continue my partnership with Toyota. I think everybody on this call knows that Toyota's been a huge part of my entire career, and I'm very, very grateful that I get to continue that relationship.
Awesome. Thank you, Christopher. Well, we will go ahead and jump into questions. Jenna, you're first out. Go ahead.
Hey, Christopher. Congratulations. I'm wondering if this is sort of unusual circumstances, if there's any sort of uncomfortable feeling in how this all came about so quickly with the closing, and then Eric being told he's not coming back, and then you getting the ride.
Yeah, it was very, uncomfortable, I guess is a good way to put it. But, I don't think any of us, myself, Joe Gibbs Racing, Toyota, none of us expected the whole LFR deal to go down like it did. So I think that put everybody in a little bit of a box. But, there was a time period, a couple weeks ago or whatever, that I wasn't sure how I was going to be able to continue my Toyota relationship. And I was pretty scared by that, just because they've been, my centerpiece of basically my career, whether that's NASCAR racing or dirt racing. And, I didn't want that to end. So I'm very grateful that, and I've already said that once, but I am extremely grateful that I get to continue that relationship and continue to drive Camrys on Sundays and race with TRD, hopefully through the Grassroots part for a long time to come.
You're going into proven equipment. How excited are you to know you're getting into winning cars?
Yeah, it's going to be pretty awesome. I have a great relationship with all the people at Joe Gibbs Racing from the Xfinity side, and it's been really cool because whenever I was on the Xfinity side, I still got to kind of mingle and interact with the Cup shop a little bit. So I have a rough idea of how everything operates there. And then, I got my feet a little bit, or got in a little bit deeper with the LFR deal and having that technical alliance with Joe Gibbs Racing. But it's going to be very, very nice to be able to go back home, so to speak, and be competing at Joe Gibbs Racing.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Jenna. Bob Hockris, I know you texted me you're in queue. Go ahead, Bob.
There we go. Christopher, are you lobbying to get Jason Ratcliffe to come with you? What's the kind of status of your crew chief for next year?
That's a great question, Bob. We haven't talked about it at all. And so it's really all up in the air right now. But obviously, Jason's been a huge part of my NASCAR career. It's ever since got out of trucks, he's been my team leader. So I would love to continue the relationship with him, but we haven't talked about it at all. So I don't know. I don't really think anybody knows exactly what's going to happen yet.
And a little bit kind of what Jenna asked, but in the sense of, racing can be messy sometimes. These things can be messy. How do you deal with messy? Are you able to handle it? Does it wig you out? What's it been like for you the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, it's been, I feel like I perform better under pressure and under stressful situations. So, whenever money's on the line, I always feel like I perform my best. And, I've been racing for my job the last couple of weeks, ever since it's known that LFR has been out of business. I didn't know exactly where I was going to land, but it worked out really good for me. So I'm really glad that it did. And I understand that I've got a lot more to do to prove myself in this sport. So that's what I'm focused on, man. I want to prove to you, Bob, that I can win on Sundays.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, Bob. Next we'll go to Woody Kane. Go ahead, Woody.
Hey, Christopher, just wanted to ask a more immediate question. You've got the Daytona road course coming up this weekend, and very few guys are going to have many laps on that track. What are your expectations there, and your thoughts on adding the chicane in coming off of 4?
Yeah, that's a great question, Woody. And it's my first ever road course race in a Cup car, and it's typically if we're going, especially to Sonoma, which is the first road course race on the schedule, I would be at a huge disadvantage going there because I have no laps, no experience. But in this case, nobody's got laps on this racetrack except for a couple of guys that may have run a sports car on it. But so I don't know exactly what to think. I guess I'm looking at it optimistically, as I'm not as a big of a disadvantage as I would be going to Sonoma. So that's pretty cool. But as far as the chicane, nobody really knows exactly what to think. So, my number one goal is going to be to keep it on the racetrack. And that's going to be, that's obviously a huge goal for any road course, but especially going to a brand new road course with no practice laps, it's going to be difficult to do. So now my goal is to try and manage this weekend, get to the checker flag, make sure that I got all the fenders on it, and then go after Dover really hard, because I know that's a place that I'm really comfortable at and should be a good race for me.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, Woody. Next, we'll go to Dustin Long. Go ahead, Dustin.
Yeah, a couple questions. Christopher, obviously in the sport, it's a business, and obviously with taking one seat, one driver loses a seat. You're still working the relationship with Joe Gibbs Racing, the alliance, and I'm assuming you may have some contact with Eric Jones from time to time. Is there an awkwardness, or how do you work through that, or do you just try to keep away from him for the foreseeable future because of the unique situation of this?
Yeah, Dustin, that's a great point. And honestly, it was very bittersweet whenever I found the news. And, I was really happy for myself, but at the same time, just as Toyota's been a huge part of my career, Toyota's been a huge part of Eric's too. So it was a tough spot, man. And I didn't envy Coach Joe Gibbs at all, because he had to make a extremely tough decision on what he wanted to do. And unfortunately, there's just, fortunately it worked out for me, but I understand it is a very hard situation. And I did have a lot of remorse for Eric, because he's been he's kind of been a guy that I followed up through the same path. And he's been, along with Toyota, just like me.
Also on the Daytona road course, I'm assuming you've had some sim time and been able to check that out at this point. And I'm curious, can you explain to me how the chicane off 4 works with getting into pit road? It seems like that's kind of a tight area there if you're getting through the chicane and getting onto pit road, or is that pretty easy? Can you kind of take me through and getting into pit road in a green flag situation, if you got cars behind you, how you get through the chicane and get on pit road without getting rear-ended?
I'll be honest, I hadn't even thought about that until you mentioned it, but you're right. It is right there before you get onto pit road. So you'll take the left off the racetrack, I guess. And now that you say this, I need to practice this in the simulator for my upcoming session this week. But so you go left off the track, and then you have to go back right on the track. And then I guess it's going to be a hard left right back to pit road. So there's definitely going to be a opportunity to get rear-ended there whenever you're peeling back off the racetrack. But honestly, I hadn't even thought about that until you said that. I definitely need to work on that and make sure I get practice runs in the simulator.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dustin. Jacob, go ahead.
There we go. Christopher, first off, congratulations. Looking at this, you mentioned following the path earlier in the relationship with Toyota. Knowing what's coming for 2021, does this feel like a culmination in a sense, like everything from the grassroots all the way up has been building to this moment when you step into a JGR car for the first time next year at the Cup level?
Absolutely, Jacob. And I remember sitting in Pete Willoughby's office back in 2013, whenever this all came together, and I say all came together, but all was just starting. And I had meetings with Jack Irving and Tyler Gibbs and all the people at TRD, and the whole goal was to see if I was capable of being a Cup driver, and if I was going to be a future Toyota driver. And you look at the Toyota stable, and I'm pretty sure Michael Waltrip was around back then, so it was either MWR or JGR. And obviously shortly after that, it turned into JGR, or that was it for the Toyota teams. And we were fortunate to get Levine Family Racing and to give me a place to be for the time being, which I'm very grateful for that. But we all knew that JGR was kind of where we wanted to be, and it's crazy, man, absolutely crazy to look at the path from USAC midgets to all the way from my stepping stone at Calabush Motorsports and the late models and the trucks, and then to get into the JGR Xfinity cars, and then to a JGR House Cup car. It's crazy how it's all played out.
And I'll tack the obvious in a roundabout way onto this. Going to JGR next year and knowing that's a little bit more of a, I guess I'll call it a comfortable situation with Toyota, does that make it easier to be able to go run at the grassroots level at times, or does it make it harder in a way because the pressure's on, it's the cream of the crop at that point?
That's a great question. I don't know how that's going to affect my dirt racing. We haven't really talked about it other than the fact that I'm going to be at JGR next year. So I don't really have a great answer for you there as far as what my dirt schedule is going to look like.
Understood. Congratulations, though. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jacob. Next, we'll go to Alex from the Charlotte Observer. Go ahead, Alex.
Hey, Christopher. This is just kind of one question off of what Bob had asked earlier, just about kind of how you're going to race and continue the rest of the season. But I'm wondering if the fact that how this deal went through, is it going to put more pressure on you and Eric, do you think, to try to compete with each other? Do you think, like, there was one moment at the Michigan race where you two were running neck and neck, and so I'm wondering if, like, you think he's going to race you harder for the rest of the season?
That's a good question, and I don't know. I know that everyone at Joe Gibbs Racing and myself included, we want to see Eric land on his feet somewhere. So as far as me versus him, that situation, I guess, is already done. So I don't know how he's going to race me going forward, but I'm going to be cheering for Eric just as well as everyone at Joe Gibbs Racing is, just trying to hope that he gets a nice solid deal and lands on his feet. So I'll be cheering for him and trying to race him with as much respect as I can, just like every other competitor. And I hope he performs well, and obviously the better that he performs now in the 20 car, the better off I'll be at the start of next year with the owner point standings. So it's really important that he does well this year in the 20 car for my future next year as well.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Perfect. Thanks, Alex. Next, we'll go to Jerry Jordan. Go ahead, Jerry.
Hey, Chris. Congrats on the ride. Also, so a week or so ago, we heard from Dave Alpern. He didn't know at the time what LFR was going to do. And then obviously you've been working on this deal with the 20 car for a while. How were those talks for you? How nervous? You talked about a little bit being nerve wracking, but how nerve wracking really was it when you found out that LFR was shutting down? The 20 car could be yours, might not be yours. You said you didn't know. What was going through your head during that whole time period of hearing all this stuff play out?
Yeah, it was just scary, man. Like, I've said it time and time again, but Toyota has been my, they're the ones that got me here, right? They're the ones who took me from dirt track racing to pavement racing to truck racing to Xfinity racing, and then obviously made this deal happen with LFR too. So, and at the time, it's either 20 car or I'm done with Toyota. Like, there's no other option. So it was very scary. I didn't want that to end. And for me, a little bit, it was like, well, if I can't be with Toyota, is my NASCAR career going to be over? Because they're the ones that have got me basically everything. So I knew that once LFR shut down, that there was only one place for me to go. And the 20 car has obviously got a great driver in it right now. So how is that going to work? How am I going to be able to go to JGR whenever they're full? So unfortunately, they had to, or my homecoming, so to speak, was at the expense of another driver, which it's very unfortunate. But I'm grateful for the opportunity, and hopefully I can prove to everyone at Joe Gibbs Racing that I'm capable of being in the 20 car for the rest of my career.
Thank you, and good luck, bud.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jerry. Reminder, if you have a question, raise your hand or let me know in the chat or text me. Jenna, did you have a follow-up? I know I saw your hand still up.
No, sorry. Sorry.
No problem. Well, I'll give it one more second, and if there's no other questions, then we will.
Can I ask one more?
Oh yeah, go ahead, Bob.
Not gonna. Christopher, I'm curious. Just what's the vibe at Levine right now? Do you feel that are people down? Are people still upbeat? I mean, do you feel like you have a decent shot of winning a race in these next 4, or do you feel like things are just kind of, that there's just no mojo left there?
Yeah, I was really worried about it, honestly, Bob, because the team notified me a little bit before they did their announcement, and I was scared. I was like, man, I don't know how this is going to affect the team morale, because it's all in. It's all in effort to compete at this level. And I was really happy at Michigan, which was the first race that the guys prepared the car after they got notified, that we went to Michigan and had one of our best cars that we've had all year. So that gives me a lot of hope moving forward for the remainder of this year to be able to compete for wins. We have a lot of details that we need to clean up before we're ready to win a race. But Michigan was definitely a strong sign that we still have all the pieces of the puzzle. If we can just put them together and everyone does their job, maybe we'll have a shot.
And I'm also a little bit curious about some of your comments about being scared if your NASCAR career was over, because, I mean, you've done so much, right? Like, are you concerned because you really don't have like personal sponsors, or, I mean, you have to think that you've done enough to show that you would still have a ride, could land a ride somewhere.
Yeah, and I mean, the sponsorship piece is a huge part of it, right? And it's no secret, man. You got to have sponsors in order to succeed in this sport. And I've been really fortunate to have Ream with me for the last couple of years. But if I get pushed out of the Toyota group, I don't really have much to say hire me. So I'm glad I don't have to go out and be a free agent.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, Bob. Jacob, we'll go back to you for a follow-up.
Yeah, Christopher, to circle back to the grassroots side for a minute, for the longest time, and you experienced this when you were coming up and first starting, I think for the longest time, everybody looked at Toyota in dirt racing and kind of thought it was, Keith Kunz or bust, for lack of a better term. But this year, you've kind of proven that what you and Chad and what Chad Boat has done with Tucker Boat Motorsports, particularly on the midget side, has really, I think, opened some eyes up to realize that it's more than just KKM now on that side. What have you seen out of Chad's team and being able to work with him, see what he's done that's impressed you, and what do you think the future looks like for that operation?
Yeah, so Chad's become one of my best friends, and it's been really cool to see him turn from race car driver to team owner, team manager, crew chief, all the above. And he's done a great job with it. So now it's basically turned from him racing with his dad to him owning a powerhouse team on the USAC schedule. So he's done a great job, and it's been really cool to see his drivers step up. And right now they've got Chris Wyndham leading the USAC points, which is a huge opportunity for Tucker Boat Motorsports. So hopefully they're able to continue on and get great drivers in the future, and maybe join the Toyota driver development deal where, he's able to groom some drivers alongside KKM.
Do you think they're at the top of the heap right now?
They're doing good. I think Chad's got great drivers with Chris Wyndham and Andrew Lasers, and it's been fun to watch. So I think his cars are driving really good. He's been working really hard on getting his cars better on different style racetracks. You've seen over the course of the years that, Chad has his tracks where he's really good at, but then he's had his tracks where he struggled at too. And he's working on his struggle points to get his cars better where they go good everywhere. and they're definitely headed in the right direction.
Perfect. Thanks, Jacob. And Alex, I know you had a follow-up from the Charlotte Observer. Go ahead, Alex.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm just wondering, kind of off of Jerry's question, made me think of this, but was there any talk or discussion with any other teams? I know it was a quick turnaround after Levine announced its closure, or was it sort of always JGR for you?
I guess I'm not really the best person to ask for that, because nobody informed me of another option or another team out there. So yeah, I was not notified of another team.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Alex. And we'll go back to Dustin Long. Go ahead, Dustin.
Yeah, Christopher, with the new way of the starting lineup is done, I think you'll start 15th instead of 35th is what you've been starting pretty much every week. How much is this the new method embraced by you and your team after the way the random draw has gone this summer?
Well, Dustin, it came about, I don't know, a month too late, because how ironic is it now? I'm finally in the top 24 in points. And so I would have, been in that next bracket, which would have been all I could have asked for. But yeah, it's nice, regardless of what happens now, at least I have the opportunity to prove my starting point, instead of just a random draw. So that's good. And man, it's just been so frustrating. And finally, at Michigan there, I got to start inside the top 10, and it's so much easier, right? Because the cars, everyone says they're hard to pass, right? And I was able to move from my 8th starting spot and get into 2nd in the first stage. Well, every single week, instead of going from 8th to 2nd, I'm starting 35th, and I'm lucky to get into the top 20. So it's just, you have to do so many different tricks and strategies to get up to the front whenever you start that far back. But it was nice to be able to start up front at Michigan in that second race. And now hopefully I understand that, I guess if we don't finish well, we're going to start in the back again, but at least we get to race for our starting spots now. So I am happy about that.
How much more risk were you taking when you were starting back there at 35th, and how much were you putting yourself in potential danger by trying to make some moves just to get up there as quickly as possible?
Well, so that's a good question. And for me, being a rookie and going to these racetracks with no practice, I would not drive hard. I would take it easy. And, we have competition cautions at the beginning of the races. So whenever they would drop the green flag, I would use that opportunity to learn the car, learn what I have, and not make a mistake and crash, where you get guys like the professionals in the sport that have been around for so long, they're able to just blow by all the slower cars back there, where, am I capable of doing that? I think so. But at the same time, I don't want to make a mistake and crash on lap 5 of a 500-mile race. So I don't have that opportunity or I haven't taken advantage of that opportunity of blowing by everybody on the start when they're going slow, because, I don't want to make a mistake. But so, I think whenever I start further up front, I'm going to be able to learn off of those guys, and I'm not going to have to obviously pass as many cars. So hopefully it'll be an improvement.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dustin. And back to Jerry Jordan. Go ahead, Jerry.
Hey, Chris, for a little off-the-wall question. Last night in our iRacing League, Kyle Busch jumped in the trucks at Daytona, won the thing just out of the blue, came up and raced with us. When the sport went on hiatus, there was a lot of this iRacing stuff. Do you still do any of that, or are you doing a lot of it? Does it help you any? And have you ever just jumped into a league like that to race?
Yeah. Honestly, I haven't fired up my computer for a while now. So I think that's been the case for a lot of us. But definitely come November, December time, that sucker's going to be on all the time. And maybe you'll see me in there racing with you.
Well, he crushed us last night. So take care.
That's cool.
Excellent. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully this was beneficial for everyone. Again, I'll have a recording available. If you let me know, I'll be happy to send you over the link. Christopher, thank you so very much for your time this morning. Congratulations on the announcement, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you. Talk to you later.
Thanks, guys.